my team with me in this webinar. Beside me, it's Arena. Hi, Arena. Yeah, she's my assistant. She will be watching out on the questions that you may have. And also, if anyone wants to speak or even sing at the end, we are going to sing a song, migration song. You can raise your hand. When you raise your hand, so for today, that means you want to talk and you probably also want to be on camera. And Arena will help to turn your microphone on and maybe also camera on, right? So,
1 second,
yeah.
Can you just make sure that I'm a co-host?
So I also have Vivian Kong here with me, and she is our marketing manager. And Shu, and also another team member, Shu, is also here. Shu is Atlassian expert. She is passed many certifications from Atlassian, and she's a certified Atlassian master, and now it's called expert. So this is today's agenda. Let's close this one. And first, I will do a brief introduction, who we are. And after that, I will share some migration practical tips. So this will be different from maybe our previous presentation or the presentation using somewhere else that if they may tell you all the details like how to do migration, but I want to share with you most of the practical that comes from our experience, those information, those points that sometimes I can see my customer made a mistake or ourselves can forget about certain items that will cause a failed migration, for example, or wasting the time. So I would like to share those practical tips with you to help you to avoid those failures. And after those practical tips, definitely we are going to talk about the migration song. And at that point, if anyone wants to sing along, I will show my lyrics so you can see the text, the lyrics, so you can sing along with me if you wish. And you can raise your hand. And Arena will help turn the microphone on for people who raise their hands, and then we can sing along together. I hope that there will be people, a lot of people want to just sing with us. And after the song, we will open up for questions and answers. And the last activity will be, we'll draw a prize. We prepare ukulele package for the lucky winner. Arena will spin a lucky wheel and she will be today's winner. And we also, for the first 10 attendees for today's meeting, we are going to give out Uber Eats coupon. So Arena will take a note. You will be contacted if you are within the first 10 people joining the webinar. Okay, so we should start. So yeah, so who we are. Some people may already know who DragonAgile is, but for people who don't know who is DragonAgile, so we are Atlassian's Go solution partner based in Kitchener-Waterloo, and since 2017. And globally, we have offices in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, and Tokyo. And globally, together, we are Atlassian's Platinum Solution Partner. So being an Atlassian solution partner, we are authorized to resell Atlassian software and also provide the services, such as Atlassian Cloud Migration Service. And that's what our today's webinar is about. Okay. So now let's move to the session about talking about migration practical tips. Again, in this webinar, as I mentioned, I will not go over every details and the steps of cloud migration, but rather I want to share with you those important steps that may be ignored, overseen, or not paying enough attention to, and that may cause failure of migration, wasting the migration time. So we have seen this happen to our customers, and of course, at beginning, earlier to our teams too. So we learn those from our past experience. Sometimes it's hard experience, but I want to share with you so you can avoid those. So, okay, so the first tip I want to talk about today is, so you have to decide on a migration method. So for us, we always prefer the cloud migration assistant, be it Jira or Conference, for the reason that it gives you flexibilities. You can choose which projects you want to migrate, which spaces you want to migrate. So, for the users, you can also decide if you want to migrate all the users groups or only the users groups that actually being used in the project or spaces that you want to migrate. So next slide, I want to talk about it's about what is migrated or it's not from the migration tool. This will be definitely also something you need to check before you even plan your migration, test the migration, for the reason so that you are being informed what will not, particularly on those features, what will not be migrated, so that you can come out with some strategy or preparation to cover those not migrated features by the tool. If those features are actually critical or important to your team and you don't want to be left out, so you, by looking at the list what it's not covered, you can plan out, should you do the manually restoration of those missing pieces, or what would be the thing that you can cover up. And now let's talk about the pre-migration checklist. Again, before you even do the test migration, it's very important to go over pre-migration checklist. Atlassian has a whole long list of pre-migration list that you can search online, or if you need a link, send us a message out to the webinar, and we definitely will be happy to share the link with you. That ideally you should go over each checklist to making sure that you are fully prepared for the migration. But here I want to share some most important, or based on our past experience, we see those can run into the issues for the customer, also for my team. One of them, okay, before we do that, we also need to create a, definitely we need to create the user migration plan, because migration includes user migration, group migration, also the data migration. But user migration, from what we've seen, sometimes it actually has more challenge than data migration. So it's very important that you understand what plan you want to migrate your user. So for some company, they use LDAP, that which means you have external directories. So making sure before you do the test migration, you want to have most recent sync of your external directory. If you migrate both Jira and Conference, making sure the email address for the same person is the same email address. For some company, it can happen. They have different email address, but they mean the same thing, mean the same person, because that way you can mapping like a linking between Jira and Conference, knowing this is from the same user. And of course, doing some cleanup is definitely recommended if they are inactive users or users you don't want them to be migrated. And it will be recommended to do some cleanup on your server before you do any migration. So now here is another thing I can see pretty much in our past experience that our customers run into. some users on server, because on server, you just use the username to log in. The email, it's not required. But in cloud, email, it's definitely being required. It's based on email address to create the ID. So the issue our customer run into is some account don't have email address. Oh, some account have a duplicate email address, which means they create two accounts but associated with the same email address. This can happen if you are Jira admin. You may understand, like you have an account being Jira admin, but that is still yourself. You associate with your email, but you have another account that using your real name, for example, and also sharing the same email. But one is an admin account on server, the other one probably just a normal user. So this could happen. So making sure you have to avoid duplicate email address. Either you have to remove one or associate with different email address for the admin account if you still want to keep that account, or merge the both accounts. And here, definitely, you need to check your Jira Conference server version, because migration tool only comparable with certain version. So making sure they are comparable with the migration tools. So that could be, sometimes we forget about to check this step. So if you have a lower version, so definitely have to upgrade to the newer version that you can, so that you can use a migration tool. Another thing I can see that many of our customers, they need to do is open up a adjust their firewall rules. If you have the firewall set up for your server instance, because the migration tool, Atlassian's migration tool, needs to talk to certain IP addresses or endpoints in order to do the communication. So in this link, Atlassian provide a whole list of the endpoints and domains that you may need to ask your whoever maintain a firewall team member to making sure to unblock those endpoints. So now let's talk about the memory allocation. Here it's another thing that can be easily like overseen, or we assuming that you have the enough memory, because for your current daily usage on server, you probably don't see any issues. But once you running a test migration or real like a production migration, you probably will find out the memory it's not enough, because migration tool will take some performance out of your current memory. So making sure you have enough. So the mistake that I can see that from our past migration experience for our customers is some company, they may be spare on the memory for the policy. Some big company may have certain policy saying that don't upgrade to enough if it's unnecessary. The thing is, we do not know for sure upfront how much you have. Even on Atlassian's document, it will say, oh, 8 GB, but so some customer will testing, okay, let's increase for 12, and then we schedule a weekend migration. It turned out it crashed because it's out of memory. So my point here is, if there is no limitation in your company's policy and the memory it's within your budget, I would rather go bigger, because you could save lots of migration attempts a weekend time. So that's another thing that we actually fall into in the past. So now let's talk about the open file limit. If you are using Linux, not Windows, for your current server instance, there is you also want to check open file limit. Are they close to 32768? That's the Atlassian give this number. Because what we've seen in the past, some customer, we didn't making sure it has enough like a limit. It can also slow down your migration, takes forever to do the checking migration. That's just because the file limits, it's not enough. So making sure you have open file limit is close to this number recommended here. That's only for Linux system. For Windows, we don't have this issue. And definitely check storage limits. The reason for that is migration tool, they need additional space in order to ensure the smooth migration. They may store some temporary file.
Irene,
Yes.
there's a question. Is this a good time to interrupt?
What's the question?
So the question is from Powell. It says, how much memory would you recommend to upgrade to? If my current Jira server has 8 gigabytes, would you recommend double that to 16 gigabytes for migration?
Yes, that's a good question, Paul. Definitely Go 16. It's I would say it's basic. It's not much, and but we actually have migration. We went through the same process. It's still not enough. It's really depends on how big is your instance, how many data do you have. So the migration tool can really consume lots of resources during the migration. And I have a customer, some customers, they just jump to 32 and then we have no problem. We don't need to like test the fail to find out. And there is no we cannot know in advance, unfortunately. I think we contact Atlassian support that they just recommend a gradually increase, but if you can, I would say more, maybe it would be better to avoid the failed migration, wasting time. All right, yeah. So I hope I answered your question. Okay, so let's move on. So now let's talk about some test migration. So what will be the pros and the cons? Yeah, so definitely test migration will give us a better, let me close down this window. So benefit will definitely will be by running a test migration, it's more like a discovery. And lots of times you actually end up doing multiple test migration. One time it's not enough. So by doing the test migration, we'll be able to know how long the migration will take, and how your company will know how what needs to be adjusted on the server. If some becoming an issue, you discover those issues in advance before your production migration, right? That's easy to understand. And also it will be used for your UAT, user acceptance test. Once you successfully have the test migration, now the data it's in either in your sandbox, if you have a premium plan, depends on your cloud plan. So premium plan definitely recommended, because then you get a sandbox feature and you can do the test migration to the sandbox. And the sandbox can be easily reset if you don't like it, and then you just dump the sandbox. So once you have the data free migrated to the sandbox, for example, or the production, your actual cloud, if you stay on the standard plan, then your users, your team can run in some UAT to verify the features are working properly in cloud. They can also discover some new features in cloud, because some layout may not be the same on server. So it will serve as a good play around for your team and do the UAT testing. So definitely test migration will be needed. Another thing is making sure document test the migration, such as how long it takes to check in the time. The migration tool, before it actually even run the migration, it'll go through a whole bunch of checking your users, checking your email addresses, checking your data, any public spaces for conference, for example. And sometimes it can really take a long time. It depends on your server instance. I have seen customers taking a few hours, 7 hours to do just checking because they have few hundred projects, for example, and 10,000 users. It can really taking a long time. So it's good to document it so that you prepare for your final migration, right? So you knowing that, is that 2 days enough? Sometimes it can just sufficient for moving the data. And also, finally, when you pass the checking time, then you can run the migration. How long does it take to migrate a few hundred projects? And that I also seen smaller like a migration, and we finish in couple hours. It's possible. So every migration is different. So it's good practice to document all those details, and also the order of migration steps. What does that mean is, if you, for example, have July conference, you may want to migrate to July first and then conference second, so that the users will be migrate first over. There will be no conflict. And even within the July, you may have certain steps. If you enable dark feature, for example, certain dark features need to have dependency when there are some data over there. You enable certain dark feature. Once you complete that migration, you may want to disable it, enable another dark feature. So we have some migration that has lots of orders. So, but it could be simple. You don't have order, but it's always good to document certain things to making sure you get a smooth migration when you do the final migration. And you probably also have some temporary modifications on server when you do the when you do the migration, right? So for example, a very like a very practical, a lot maybe lots of people, lots of migration experience run into is, you want to block out users when you do the final migration, so that your instance will become read only. You don't want users to do any modifications to your instance during the migration. So how normally it will be done is, you set up a temporary permission scheme that has only the browsing permission, and apply that to all your project, so that no user will make the mistake adding, modify something during the migration. And that it's called temporary modifications. Once you migrate over, you have to revert back. So that's why it's good practice. You have to document what have you temporarily changed and modified. And after your test migration, definitely this will be one step your user has to do. It's user acceptance testing. So that you can check out cloud new feature, new user interface, different apps. So some apps may not be available. The same app for server may not be available on cloud, and you may need to substitute some apps, and they have to get used to. And even the same apps, if they have cloud version, they may have different feature. Some feature may not be identical, so users will discover, play around during the user acceptance testing, and definitely also discover unexpected issues, so that you know how to fix that when you do the second test migration or the final migration. And once you have all the test migration, you gain more experience and insight of your server instance. You can create the migration runbook, but that should actually create before that. But now you probably don't need to create it because Atlassian actually provide a migration runbook template you can borrow and fill in the information like who should complete which task and instructions how to do that, all those things, and how long this task should be finished. So it's good to keep a runbook for your migration journey. So let's see. Yeah. And consider now, let's talk about the production migration. Now you have successfully run few test migration, you know all the data can be migrated over, you have the documentation how to make this smooth. So now finally we come to the schedule, the production migration. And then you discover, wow, there are so many things need to migrate and weekend, because normally if you're enterprise, you cannot afford to lose work days. You don't want to block out users during the work days, right? So you end up having to do the migration during a weekend. So weekend, that is only 2 days. How do you arrange those tasks? So many things to migrate. So here comes the pre-migration. What can be pre-migrated? So you can consider to do those things a day before, so that when because those migration you don't need to block out the users, such as users groups, assuming you don't add new users on the last day, of course, and attachments, because the migration tool will be smart enough to pick up, actually will pick up additional users. That's why you can do those steps in the pre-migration, but not the data. For the attachment, so migration tool will be smart enough to see, oh, this attachment is already pre-migrated. I only need to pick up the new ones. Oh, there is a revision, then we do the migration, but not for the data, unfortunately. So that's why only those things you can pre-migrate. The other things will be leave to the final migration, those 2 days, and when you block out users and all the data will be final. So here comes the production final migration. Like I mentioned before, you need to set your server to be read-only. So that's by doing a permission scheme that has only the browse permission applied to all project. For conference, you probably want to remove all permissions for anything other than the read. So now finally we complete the production migration, all the data users on your production instance, and congratulations. But that it's not complete, because there could be some features that, as we mentioned, it's not being covered by the tools, and you had to do some manual recreation, touch up, fix. And at that point, such as like some workflow functions, triggers, post functions, it doesn't come with the migration tool, then you have to recreation before Monday when the user come to use your cloud, fully onboarding to the cloud, right? And also automation rules that it's not automatically moved over by migration tool, but for automation rules that you can export, import, but still you probably need to do some touch up. And other things like a global permission, and you also want to revert back a previously blocked out permission scheme, as we mentioned. And for some apps, if those are critical, you want them to be available on the first day when user come onboarding the cloud, you have to reconfigure those apps during the migration, post the migration. So as I mentioned, the weekend time may not be enough. So how do we prioritize the tasks? There are so many. So we definitely won't be able to complete everything. So that's why we need to prioritize tasks. We have to decide what are the must-have features on the first day when you're onboarding the users to cloud, and what are the features such as UI, if you use Define, for example, or some like automation rules, if it's not being used so like frequently, you just have to put those tasks to be second higher priority so that you can work on those in the following days within a week, hopefully not too long. So that's important that you have to define what are the must-have within those weekend days, what can be work on within the following days. Even some can be following weeks or month if that's important, so you can continue improve certain feature. Wow, welcome. Okay, all right. I think it's good time. So here come the migration song. Yeah, some of you may have know because I posted on LinkedIn on some YouTube and so some video of me playing ukulele. I wrote the song. I wrote the lyrics for migration for Atlassian cloud migration song. So it's actually inspired by the true migration experience that me and my team have had. It, we have done a very complex migration with 10,000 users, like say. It takes a really long time, like a few months. And also it comes with many apps without the migration paths, and lots of features needs manual touch up post-migration. So, and a very intense migration time, it takes many hours doing checking and the migration, few hundred projects, all those things. So we learn a lot of experience from that, and some are pretty hard. But that said, I don't want to scare people away. Like for people who are new to the migration or planning to do migration, every migration is truly unique. So it doesn't mean that you will need that much time, like a few months, because we actually, lots of migration we did, it's pretty quick. We most of the time we be able to like mm, we have done like in a month, and we even have a migration for one customer. We complete succeeding first test migration within 3 hours. It's possible if you have a smaller instance and not so compressed, right? Like you don't have lots of apps, and uh, so that it's totally possible. So each one needs to be analyzed one by one, case by case. So if you need any help, so feel free to contact DragonAgile. We're happy to share our experience with you. So here I would like to invite anyone who wants to sing along with me. So here are the lyrics. It's here. You definitely can raise your hand, and we will turn your microphone on. I'll wait for you to decide if you want to sing along with me. While I'm setting up, I'll put my laptop on a higher position so I can stand up when I sing. Anyone wants to raise hands? Oops. Okay. No one?
Do you want the microphone?
Yes, definitely. I hope this microphone is good enough. Anyone wants? Oh, all right. So yeah, here I only write a 2 session, and the song is actually coming. The melody is borrowed from. It's a Chinese song actually. It's called She Came to My Soul. It's a really nice, touching song, and I use that for our migration because migration can be, you can run into emotional for doing very complex tasks. I wrote 2 sessions. All right. If nobody wants to raise hand, I'm going to play. So I have to mention that I may mess up. So even I practiced a few times, sometimes I forget my words. Now I have my words on the screen, but the other times will mess up with my ukulele chord. So if you see I mess up, that just happens. It's hard to remember everything and play at the same time. I'm not a true musician, but I do like ukulele. All right, let's sing this song. Today it's the final migration day. We prepare for the past 180 days. So many weekend nights for test migration. At last, we are ready for today. They say cloud it's the way to go. They say cloud it's the future way. But some apps, they don't have migration pass. Customer wants everything the same. They don't care the difference, server versus cloud. Hey, I cannot say no. Today it's the final migration day. Have you notified the users backup ready? Users, groups, and attachments pre-migrated. It can really save lots of downtime. They say cloud it's the way to go. They say cloud it's the future way. But migration to cloud isn't an easy task. Customer wants Monday go live. 2 days weekend, not enough time. Hey, who say we can do it? Wow, this is the first time I run smoother than most of the time. Okay, thank you. Yeah, here comes the Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, I can just stand here. Any question? I'll wait for a couple of minutes. No? Thanks, Power. Thank you. All right. If not, then I will stop sharing my screen and I will move to Alina. Alina will, like said, we prepare a gift for the lucky winner. And I think Arena already enter the attendee's name in a spinning wheel. I'll just unshare and move over to Arena. You can share your screen.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
So I've put the names, the initials of all of the attendees that registered, and we're gonna click to spin.
Okay, good luck.
Drum roll.
Yeah. Ooh. Can you
All right.
announce the winners, the full name? AB
Yes.
initial?
Yes, the initials are AB, and I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen so I can pull up Annette Brown.
Oh, congratulations, Annette. Congratulations to be our lucky winner. and you will receive a follow-up email for shipping details. So yeah, congratulations. I believe Annette is from actually KW because she has been to our past webinar few times. So definitely congratulations. And like I said, we also have 10 Uber Eat coupons that we will give out to the first 10 attendees. We have the order. I see lots of people coming in pretty quick, but Zoom keeps the order, and those people will be contacted in the email with the coupon code. All right. Um, I think that's always we early, but if you have still have question, I'll wait a couple minutes before we close down the meeting. But thank you very much, everyone, to attend today's meeting, and I hope you enjoy the song. If you have any idea how to extend the song, let me know. Um, send email to DragonAgile, or if you definitely have any migration questions, we will be very happy to help you out. Okay. Okay, then bye now. Have a nice day, everyone.